Welcome back to the Gamers Grind podcast, everybody. How's everybody on the panel doing tonight?
I got the itis.
You got the itis?
I got the itis.
Oh,
I'm the exact opposite of itis. I don't have any food in my system.
oh man, trust me, I am. It's been a long day. I gotta agree. I definitely long days of work, but we made it to the end of the week. We made it here. We're all together, and that's what matters. I see everybody here. I see Black Guy Gamer in the comfy fit. Look at him, robe and everything. He has the nightcap on and everything. He's ready. He's ready to go to sleep. It's over. It's over here. And then we got Kawante rocking the Palutena merch. I like it. I like it. And since it's a gamer stream, we gotta bring out the gamer merch. Gotta love Link's Awakening. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So it's been a week since our last episode, and honestly, it's been a good week. Lots of new games getting announced, but not too much stirring. But ultimately, like a lot of good things to come. New games. We had the whole thing where the Cyberpunk devs finally came out and they talked about their thoughts on what happened. They tried to, make a public apology. It's kind of crazy.
That wasn't no apology. that wasn't no apology.
that was definitely the saving face. But
those dudes, they straight up blamed QA for everything that happened. They're just like, yeah, we ain't see that. There's no way we seen those glitches. We thought the game was ready. Somehow, some way.
Yeah, that's cap. Boy, that's cap. But enough about that. Once again, welcome again to the panel, guys. I really appreciate y'all. I really appreciate you guys being here. I follow you guys on Twitter a lot, and I do follow. I do see a lot of tweets from the Black Eye Gamer. Always talk about random stuff, but the one thing he's always consistent about is talking about pure evil. All right, pure evil. He's the most evil person in this galaxy. So it got me thinking. All right. So if this is a man of pure evil, then he must love some evil characters. So I wanted to know from the panel, what is that character, whether it's evil or not? What is that video game character that you resonate with the most? Because I know Black Eye Gamer. I've seen him resonate with a lot of different characters, but I have never seen him resonate with only one.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I would think I have multiple personality disorder, which is it's like flavor of the week. Where I one moment
you gave it away.
I do. One moment I feel like, and one moment I feel like somebody else, and the other one I feel like somebody. Well, but it's not my fault, Quante. And I mean, if you have the big brain because you already know.
Yeah, of course. Because you just gave it away by what you said.
It's not my fault. That's just honestly how I feel. But combined with the fact that it's more so the fact that what evil to me is. It's not even evil. It's just who is a complete dirtbag makes it think that they're a dirtbag, but they're doing it for their own cause. Because you never really see everybody's we're in the era of we want to respect the antagonist. You know what I mean? Everybody wants to know the antagonist's story. We got Joker, and some people were resonating with Joker. With some of the things he did in the movie, was he right to do so? Was he wrong to do so? It's more so a psychological question of whether or not he was in the right. But obviously, villains don't just be evil for evil's sake, unless we're talking about Dragon Ball characters. But there's a rhyme and a reason. Bowser kidnaps Princess Peach because he wants more land. Ganondorf wants revenge from the Hyrule Historia because he basically set the Garuda people to die in the desert, and that's why he's pissed. That's why he always reincarnated as a Gerudo, because it would manifest some kind of anger or whatever. That's the human version of Ganondorf. Fucking Eggman wants to take over the world because he's evil, right? No, he wants to figure out a way to make eternal life.
No, he wants to build an amusement park.
That too. I would want. Hey, that's the character I was Eggman.
Eggman? I
Can you
mean,
imagine? Yeah. Like I more so see myself as King Dedede. You know,
But he's not a bad guy.
I know he's not a
he's-
bad guy, but
he's
he
like,
acts like a bad guy. He tries to act like a bad guy though.
He's like, that would be like saying Meta Knight is a bad guy.
No, I know, but it's just like one day we had a conversation in the Discord call, and like Kachako was going off on everybody, and then he said, and Kendo, you're not evil, you're just goofy. You're just a big goofy villain. And I was just like, man, I am DDD. Fuck.
wait.
He tries to be mean and nasty. He tries to be mean and nasty, but he gets his shit pushed in too many times.
Oh my gosh! You see, this is true. This is true. This is true. I feel like I always see you like trying to you're like I am going to be evil, but you resonate Eggman energy. And Eggman, yeah, he's evil. He's trying to like take over the world, but like he doesn't feel evil. He feels goofy. And that.
He's goofy.
Nah, but that's great. I like that. Eggman's a great character, and I think I can see where you get a lot of that. What's the word? That envy from him, from a lot of the mannerisms you do. I think if there's any character you relate with, like, and I can see you kind of like reflecting a lot, it's definitely Eggman. Out of any of the evil characters, because you like evil.
I don't think so.
Oh man.
I think.
Oh man.
Adventure fucking adventure.
I think you're. Well, no, you don't have that great of a posterior to be that Eggman. I'm sorry. I think you're King K. Rool.
Come on, dude. I'm not obscure. Like it's like I'm not.
No.
It's like I'm not obscure.
You're that level of goofy.
Yes, he is.
No, you could be obscure. You're loud, but so is King K. Rool.
I just picture Black Eyed Gamer with the pirate's coat and the hat, and then the blunderbuss. There it is. There it is. Make it happen for Halloween. It's happening. King K. Rool, King Thick.
Nah, he would be Baron K. Rulenstein, where he thinks he has a big old brain.
Oh no! All right, now that's Kendall, Black Eyed Gamer. What about you, Kawante? I know you play a lot of Mario, but I don't really know like what's that character that you're just like, that's my dude, that's my boy.
As far as a villain
or like a normal character. But villains are more fun. Villains are much more fun though.
Yeah, they are fun. My favorite villain would probably be King K. Rool. He's just. I'm sorry. He's the most fun, especially if you think about his cartoon counterpart, where he's just like comically evil, like the Saturday morning cartoon type of evil. I love that shit. It's cool. And that's all really.
No,
as far as like a cool character, like if you want to talk about like actual characters, I like really, really cool characters. Like to me, when I was a kid growing up, I thought the coolest character was Proto Man from Mega Man. He just looks cool.
Oh my god! listen.
Quante used to obsess over that character.
I love Proto Man. He's cool. Like if you want to talk about any cool Mega Man character, everybody always talks about Bass. I hate Bass. Bass looks stupid.
What? Bass is so cool.
No, I hate Bass. Bass looks so dumb. I don't like him. Proto Man is better.
Those are good. Mm-hmm.
Zero's cool too, but he's basically just Proto Man again, so it's fine.
Listen, okay, hear me out. We can have a whole discussion on this, but that's not what today's about. Because Zero, that's not my number one dude, but he's definitely better than Proto Man for me. But you know what? I like your opinion. I like your opinion. We could be wrong sometimes. I think if there's a villain that I love, it definitely has to be Porky from the Mother series.
Oh, yeah, of course.
No. Listen, it's not even that I'm a huge fan. Like, don't get me wrong, I love the Mother series, but I'm not like a huge fan of it. I just think Porky, there's just something like you just hate him. Everything he does, you just hate, and that's what I love about him.
Well, have you played Mother 3?
I have played.
Yes.
I have played Mother 3. I haven't beaten it, but
Then you gotta beat it then to
Oh,
really.
no.
If you really want to feel that way, then play all of Mother 3.
Ooh.
Ooh,
And Porky's Fate.
It's good.
It's really good, dude. Like Porky's a regular ass kid that just is in the right situations. Like he's no superpowers, no nothing. He's just in the right place at the right time, being an influencer, and he gets away with it too. Like all of a sudden, he's just like, yeah, and I own this business company because I just told like what?
That's actually how he would talk too.
He literally went from being a snot-nosed brat to running the world's money. I don't get it.
But he's still a snot-nosed brat.
He's
and
still
I
a
think that's what
snot-nosed
makes him- Yeah, like that never changes, and I think that's the most endearing part of him. Is like even when he's like at his utmost evil, he's like final boss material. He's still a snot-nosed brat at the end of the day.
Exactly. So all in all, all in all, great characters. I expected an Eggman from Black Eye Gamer, but I didn't expect a King K. Rool from Kawante. So
I love K. Rool. He's cool.
I like it. Now we were talking a little bit about villains, but we got to talk about there's one villain we didn't talk about. Now he's a little bit relevant, and that's Bowser. Because earlier this week, we got an announcement. We finally got a release date for Super Mario 3D World. We finally got that release date, and we saw 3D World, and then it finished and showed us a banger. Showed us Bowser's Fury. And I was shook. I did not think that they would put that much effort into making new content for 3D World. I can't wait for that game to come out. But then it really got me thinking. About, wow, let's look at there's a lot of games being resold, being revived lately, and I want to know, what are our thoughts on these games? I mean, 3D World is one example. I think it's one example of a very good game that are getting revived, a very good game getting resold, and I think the Switch version is going to do a lot of justice for it because they didn't really get that time to shine on the Wii U. But
I think that could be said for all of them, though. And that's why I'm okay with it. The only thing I'm not okay with is the $60 price tag. But as for them re-releasing all of the... Well, yeah, that's totally the right thing. All of the Wii U games on the Switch, I think that's great. Because people who didn't get a Wii U because the Wii U was basically a commercial failure will get to experience the games. Because say what you want about the Wii U, but I think it has some of the best games that I've ever played.
yes.
I don't really think that's too much of an exaggeration. I mean, 3D World was great. Pikmin 3. Yoshi's Woolly World was one of my favorite games on that.
Wonderful
But
101.
Nintendo Land.
Wonderful
But-
101.
And that got a re-release too. So that had like some bangers. Bayonetta 2. Like all the really good stuff was on Wii U. So them re-releasing all of the stuff on the Switch, I have no problem with. But them charging, because I know people are mad, like let's say 3D World. I didn't realize how long it's been since that game came out. But it came out in, I think, 2013.
Oh my
And
gosh.
it's 2021 right now. So it's almost been, 8 years? And we have to spend, $60 on it again, which I don't really... I mean, for me, it's like, I would have bought the game anyway. But, I know some people do have a problem with that. I know it became a big problem when Tropical Freeze was re-released. But I feel like that was a special exception for me. Because I love Tropical Freeze, and I think that game is worth all 60 of those glorious dollars. Because not enough people got to experience that game, and that is probably one of the best platformers of all time. So I think that needed the love. I'm sorry.
For sure.
No, you're good. You're not wrong. It's just that like I remember like Tropical Freeze coming out on the Wii U, and then the Switch came out the next year, and they're just like, all right, we're gonna upload, we're gonna give you guys Tropical Freeze again for full price and add a funky mode. And even though people were kind of like upset that that's the only update that the game got for the same $60 price tag, a lot of people were still upset that most games like Pikmin 3 or Mario Maker 2, even though realistically it's a completely different game, these games getting rehashed and remastered for full price, on a system that's a lot more commercially successful than the Wii. I mean, like realistically, I think it's just it's the right move for Nintendo to do, but at the same time, I understand why people are upset because these games like Quante. I forgot how long it's been since I played 3D World or when the game came out, and yeah, that was like right before I got into college, so like that was a long time ago, and they're asking for full price. But then again, like you got Bowser's Fury, which looks like a combination between like 3D World and Odyssey.
Mm-hmm.
And they have this big plane of existence all over the place, and you have like collectibles to gather or whatever. You got a big ass Hazard Bowser to a god and shoots lasers out his mouth.
Yes.
But I mean, like that's just one of the perks of the games. But like I understand, someone from the Pikmin community would be upset that their game Pikmin 3 that came out 2015.
Same. I think it was the same year as 3D World. I think it was 2013. So it's almost been just as long for that game. Like a lot of these games are almost 10 years old at this point, and it's kind of blowing my mind that we're almost getting to that point. Because the Wii U I think did come out my senior year of high school, and I remember playing it.
It came out. So. I got my Wii U when the day the world was supposed to end in 2012.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. It's funny because like I think I've always loved the concept of them bringing back games from the dead. I love that, and I think even though the $65 price tag is hard to justify for a lot of people, I don't really fault it too much because. Once again, like you said earlier, the Wii U was a system. It was a system that was nobody really bought, and while it is roughly the same game, it's one of those things where it's just like it's an experience that a lot of people haven't had the chance to do it. So with that added amount of content, I can in my mind, I can justify buying it again. I got the game for free when I got my Wii U, and I loved it. I loved it. The fact that they added an online mode and stuff like that, that's gonna be crazy. It's going to open so much for the game because that game was designed. It's not designed to be played alone. I played it alone because I'm an only child. It was the worst. It was the worst, but it was still fun. But that game was designed to play with people. So them adding an online mode and then them adding Bowser's Fury, that is just... There's a lot of care being put into it. And I like that a lot. Now...
That's not even the only thing as far as like the care. Because I've seen comparison videos, and they actually did like I think it was they said a 35% increase in the game's overall speed, which means that you can schmoove in the game now. They even added like the little dive from like the 3D or the actual 3D Mario titles, so you can have more control over your character. Mm-hmm. So it actually just looks like you can get around much quicker because the original game is kind of slow in comparison. If you really look at it,
it is.
It's still a fantastic game, but it wasn't like playing. I mean, it's basically 2D Mario translated into 3D, but you don't have the same level of control that you do in 2D. And now in this version, it sort of looks more like that, where you can go fast and do whatever you need to do, feel good while doing it.
Mario and Luigi running at Toad speed.
And
then Toad
going even faster.
Toad goes even faster.
Yeah.
All in all, I think that I'm very excited for that game, but I'm also very excited for more games, and not just Mario, because it's a whole what 25th, 35th anniversary of Mario.
35th.
Yeah, it was the 35th anniversary of Mario, so it's like they're celebrating by re-releasing all these games. But I think like there's also a lot of other like re-releases of games that are coming out or revivals that are being brought out. One of them comes to mind. One that I'm mostly excited for is Nier Replicant, where I played Nier Automata. mind you, I didn't play the original Nier because that game is old. I didn't have an Xbox at the time. I didn't have an Xbox or a PS3 at the time when it came out, and it was a much lesser. It was a lesser known franchise at the time. That's a game I'm super excited. I'm super excited for, and it's coming out. It's coming out in, I believe, in April. And then you had in the Game Awards, they announced Perfect Dark, a revival of Perfect Dark, which I didn't really grow up with. I didn't grow up with that franchise, but I have a lot of people that I know that they played Perfect Dark when they were kids in the original Xbox. So that getting a revival is so amazing. So I just been loving this. I've been loving that whole idea of it's been some time. Yeah, we can bring out new titles every once in a while. We can still bring out new titles. But I love the care a lot of these companies are doing. A lot of the companies are doing to really bring back these old titles because these are the titles for boomers. We're boomers in this. We're now boomers at this point. We're boomers, and like these quote unquote Zoomers are like they've never really seen what made these games so great. So I think I'm loving it, and even Nintendo like they're kind of mad when it comes to them re-releasing games because a lot of times they just do one-to-one re-releases or one-to-one ports. But even so, they're putting I think this 3D World with Bowser's Fury, that's them putting a little bit more care into the things that they're bringing out. So I'm super excited for like these releases and revivals. I wonder what you guys think about them.
Yeah, because like it makes total sense. It's 100% like it's 100% necessary, and like I just thought about the price definitely justifies it. Because I want to talk about something, an experience I had at work that blew my mind. So, one of my coworkers has a kid, and the kid's like maximum 10 years old, and he got Paper Mario Origami King for Christmas. And so he's in the office walking around, playing the game. He comes up to me because, the wife, the woman, she obviously told her that I play video games. And he just came up to me and he's just like, hey, I'm kind of stuck on this part, like helping me out. And I said, sure, no problem, kid, I got you. I'm a gaming expert. And so, I'm playing the game with him and I'm helping him do the puzzles and stuff like that. We're talking about the game in general, and he's just like, I like the game because it has a really cute story. I'm trying to help the bomb outside Bumbery, and it was cute. He's a kid. He understands what's going on. The puzzle system was hard for him. He figured it out himself at one point. You know what I mean? He was just like, the battles are kind of hard, but I taught him how to do it. And like, that entire time playing that game after, I was just like reflecting, talking, thinking after like he left, I was reflecting about like, man, that was pretty cute. I had a connection with this kid. Not once did I think about talking about Thousand Year Door. Not once did I think about saying anything about the past games. None of that got brought up at all. It was in the moment right there and then. Because as much as I love Thousand Year Door, and whenever I talk to anybody else about the franchise, about the Paper Mario franchise, I always bring up Thousand Year Door, Paper Mario, the classic Paper Mario, why I should have RPG elements. But with that kid, I didn't talk to him about it instinctively because it was beyond his time.
Yeah. Oh my god.
So it gave me a moment of clarity, and I was like, oh, this is why Nintendo is so garbage at game preservation because it's lost to time. Blew my mind.
What?
Blew my mind.
I
wouldn't say it lost the time. I wouldn't say it lost the time. But explain. Go ahead.
I'm confused. You explain.
I think I
What
get.
do you mean? I was talking with the kid, and I never brought up like the classic Paper Mario games. And I know it's a kid. Yes, I understand that. But like in that moment of time when I was reflecting after he left, damn, I didn't talk about Thousand Year Door at all. I didn't talk about the original Paper Mario at all. I just talked about Origami King. He never asked about the previous games if there were any, because he's obviously a Nintendo kid. Like he knows the video games and stuff like that. But the reason why I said that was because this is why Nintendo is so kind of like, I don't know if I should do this or not.
I think
I feel that kids wouldn't connect.
I think I understand what you're saying now.
Games.
Same here. I understand.
Yeah.
So are you trying to say that they're not releasing their older titles because they want people to play the newer ones, or they don't want any sort of comparisons to be made to the older ones?
I think it's more so I think it's more so the fact that they're just trying to focus on the newer games.
The only time that I can agree with that is Melee. Because that's exactly what they did there, but I don't think they're like that with anything else. Especially like with the Mario 35th, they were basically just like, yeah, you can play almost every game on the Switch except Galaxy 2 and I guess 3D Land. But nobody really wants to play 3D Land anyway. But I mean, yeah, I don't think they're against game preservation as so much as it is with like. I mean, I know for certain games, like they definitely want people to be playing Splatoon 2 over the first game.
Splatoon, yeah, I know, right? I know. I wasn't saying Nintendo's reasoning behind that because children wouldn't resonate with it. It was because they're more focused about the present, the right here and now. That's what made me. That was my moment of clarity. Yeah, that was my moment of clarity. Because we've had this argument for a million years. You know what I mean? Maybe we'll talk. Maybe AJ will have a podcast about that and we'll argue about price difference and a bunch of other garbage, because that conversation legit went into the night of the darkness from 10 o'clock all the way to 3.
Yes.
But that moment right there made me realize what I mean? Like, I understand, fans are frustrated about the price difference, but when it's little Billy Bob and his first Bean Dip video game, you know what I mean? The franchise, you never played 3D World before. Not, you mean he's like the kid's like, you mean to tell me this game came out like almost 10 years ago before I was born or conscious?
Don't say
and it
that.
has a new mode?
Yeah.
Don't say that. You're gonna bring us all. Before I was born. That's the truth too. And I hate it. But we're like almost to 30 years old.
Yeah. Hey, you oldies are almost 30 years old. I'm still young and in my prime. Yes, sir. 22.
Be quiet.
Oh my gosh.
30's gonna come. 30 years is gonna come and eat my ass just like it's gonna eat yours.
But I like what Kendall said. I like what BGG said, where I think the way he wanted to phrase it was games are products of their time. The only reason why a lot of games may not work, or a lot of older games may not work in today's age, even if they're like they're classics, even if they're great games from when we played them, it's the fact that because they're products of their time, they may not hit the same notes that the newer audience wants to hit. I remember one game that I really thought about was Final Fantasy VII Remake. Now, if you played the original Final Fantasy VII, it's widely accepted that game is fantastic. That game is great. They bring out the remake, and I remember I was following since I wanted to be on that game first day because I never played the original, but I wanted to play the remake when it first got announced. So I said, I'm in it. I'll wait. And I remember them saying that they're changing the battle system from turn-based to more of a blend of hack and slash and turn-based, which it's more hack and slash than anything, but there's turn-based elements in it. And I remember my friend, he had played the original, and he was with me, and he was just like, I don't necessarily know how I feel about that. But then we started to think about it. It's just like, at the end of the day, turn-based battle systems, there's not many games that do turn-based because it's a slow battle system. And the people who play games now, a lot of people who play games now, the newer audience, they need things to keep them captivated all the time. They're not gonna spend that time trying to meticulously plan out your next turn and everything. They're just trying to run and gun. That's why Fortnite hits. So I definitely think, yes, it's facts. It's facts, and I think that's I think that's why it's so hard. It's so hard for some companies to even attempt to do that, to want to revive those games, because it's like, hey, yes, this game will be great if we revived it, but if we don't do it correctly, then nobody's gonna want to play it, and we're not gonna get that same feeling of when you first had it. 3D World is a good example of it working because that game is still pretty recent. Nier Replicant is a very good example of a game. It follows the formula. It follows the formula of Automata rather than the original. So it's adapted to this newer. It's adapted to this newer play style and everything. Then you got.
I think that's a little different from game preservation. It's like, since the games are still so recent, I think that they're still relevant in a sense that you could sell them and make, like, they're selling these games for full price.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like game preservation for me would be like if they, like the Super Mario 3D All Stars, like they're re-releasing the games that you couldn't get. Like you could still get, all of the Wii U games fairly easily. I mean, the Wii U wasn't a successful console, but these games are still plentiful and out there.
Yeah.
But it's like, you can see the two shelves behind me, they're filled up with games. Like, I could try to buy one game that I don't have, Earthbound, since we brought up Porky earlier. You want to know how much that game costs, like, on eBay?
Don't tell me. Don't tell me, because it hurts. It hurts.
Yeah. It's over $200, like, straight up. Or if I try to buy, like, any Dreamcast game, because I just got a Dreamcast recently, because somebody on the Facebook Marketplace was crazy and sold all of its peripherals and all the games they had for only just $100.
What a mad lad!
Yeah. So jumped on that. But there's some games that I don't have, and I was looking up stuff, and I was like, okay, how about Marvel vs. Capcom 2? Because there's a lot of good fighters on the Dreamcast.
Yes.
$200. Like, can't get anything.
I never told you this, but the Dreamcast was an arcade machine.
It
Yes,
was
sir.
an arcade machine, but even just going back to Nintendo, like, stuff's expensive, and you can't really get it, like, without spending a whole lot of money. So it's like with game preservation, if you want this newer generation to buy stuff, nobody's gonna want to spend $1 billion on, a Mario game from way back in the day. You got to re-release those games.
Mm-hmm.
And that's game preservation to me, or not even just game preservation in that sense, but also making sure they're not lost to time, like Josh said. Because then there's some games like Scott.
Look at Sunshine.
Well, Scott Pilgrim, before it got re-released today, actually.
Oh wow, yeah, I forgot.
It evaporated because it was only on digital stores, and then they took it down.
Goodbye.
Like, yeah. And then it's like, okay, how do we play Scott Pilgrim now without me breaking up my PS3? Or maybe nobody got to play that game. They wanted to play it. It looks fun to them, and it's like the game is literally just gone. Like they have no access to it whatsoever. So I think that's a thing.
You hit the Thanos snap. I can't with you. I can't.
Oh my god.
Ultimately, I agree with what you're saying. I think I see what you're trying to say. I think there's a lot of games being treated right when it comes to being revived. I don't think there's enough preservation of these older titles, and it's hard. I think it's very hard for them to be preserved as they were, or like bring them into the new age. But I think there's examples of them like being revived in new ways. A good example of this is, Castlevania. It's a dated game, very dated game, very old game. Hey, relax. Hey, hold on. Wait. I think Castlevania. It's hard for people to go back to that game because it's very old, but they do a good job of keeping the spirit of that game through these newer titles. I know last year I played Hollow Knight, and that game, well, it's not one-to-one to Castlevania, because Castlevania is very different too. It was able to capture some of that feeling with a faster pace. I also have Bloodstained, and that game is much more closer to a Castlevania. and it's still able to get like it's able to get what's precious about the Castlevania franchise and still preserve it in that way. I don't know how. I'm not 100% sure on what's going to come for these older games because at some point they're going to disappear. Let's be real. At some point they can't spend all their time reviving every single franchise because not every franchise is going to be a hit. Jeez, even Perfect Dark getting remade. I mean, nobody. There were some rumors about it, but nobody's like. It's not the critically acclaimed thing where the whole world's gonna drop everything they're doing for a Perfect Dark. Over time, these games are gonna be forgotten, and like, it kind of, it kind of sucks. It kind of sucks. I really want to see more. I want to see more revivals.
I can agree to disagree there.
Really?
Because yeah, as long as the game has some sort of relevancy, I don't think that it has. It can't just go away. Like, the game has to have staying power. It's like comparing Mario to Banjo-Kazooie. Banjo-Kazooie, those games disappeared, and they were sort of out of the limelight for a while. And so there's a lot of people, probably like, let's say, during the Smash Brothers reveal, where they didn't know who Banjo or Kazooie were, versus somebody like Mario or any other platformer, for that matter, like Donkey Kong, Kirby, anything. I mean, those games have the staying power that they have because they keep making them and they keep making new and fresh ideas. Pokemon is another example. Do you think Pokemon will ever go away? The biggest multimedia franchise in the world?
Pokemon is infinite. Understand something.
Yeah.
Pokemon will never die because they will never let that dead horse be beaten. And other than that, it's not dead though. It's not dead. I think the reason why Pokemon stays is like it's still a thing is because of what you said. Staying power. It is nothing has really come to take it off of its throne for what it accomplishes. So I think that's why I don't.
It's stupid.
It is.
It's dumb.
There's nothing. They've tried. They have tried so hard. Digimon was close.
It's dumb.
Digimon was close. Yokai Watch was trying to come in and be like, aha, I'm here. We're here. We're gonna knock down Pokemon. They didn't even get close. Untouchable. So I don't think that applies for everything. There's a lot of games that still need to get revived, but they aren't going to get that treatment because they don't have that level of staying power. I think Pokemon is a very, very unique case.
Pokemon's a unique case because you can make anything out of a Pokemon. That's basically there's a Pokemon made of ice cream.
That's true.
Pokemon made a chandelier. It's literally a chandelier.
I love Chandelure.
Pokemon.
You take that back. You put some respect on her. All right.
My favorite Pokemon is a ball.
It's a ball. What is that?
Which one?
It's Electrode.
Oh. Why do you like Electrode?
Oh no.
Hey, look! Do you see his face? Did you see his smile?
He just
Oh,
explodes.
he
just
You can't tell me
explodes.
you don't like Electrode's smile. Man, sexy. But no, it's like Pokemon is just like one of those unique cases. Same thing with Mario 2, where it can become infinite, where they can basically continue to milk the franchise, basically put it in any scenario where it hasn't been already, or put it back in a scenario, and it would work. They've done it before. We'll do it again.
Well, that they have to, and this is the beauty of video games to me, is that you said you don't think that it can have the staying power, and I think it can. It's like stuff can come back really easily if you literally make it. I know that sounds dumb, but think about Crash Bandicoot and how long it had been since we got not even just a Crash game, but like a good Crash game. Like, people wanted a true Crash 4 for so long, and then they came out with Crash 4. And people love that game.
Mm-hmm.
And now you would have thought that Crash, especially nowadays, would have just faded into obscurity. But they put their heart and soul into that game, refined the gameplay enough to where it was super fun, and sort of brought it up to a modern standard of what a good platformer in that particular style, mind you, could be. And suddenly you got yourself a good game that people bought and they loved after being absent for I don't know how many years, because not everybody really likes Crash. I didn't like any of the Crash games. I played all 3 of them, and I was just like, I didn't see the appeal. But I played Crash 4, and I was like, I really like this. It's like if they made a Crash 5 or wherever it goes from here, I'm a fan now. So, you know, they have the ability to bring it up to a new standard. That's what Mario does almost every single time they release a new game. That's why Mario releases are so monumental, because they almost always change the gaming landscape, no matter if you like it or not.
It always does feel like that. It definitely did feel like that when Odyssey came out, where like it was definitely just another 3D Mario game. But I remember we were all watching the trailer, and we were just like, there was just something big about it being a new Mario game. Everybody was just like hype. Bowser in a tuxedo. What? And like that's just something like
versus, dude.
Hey, you know what? We could reminisce a lot about the good times. All in all, I love games being brought back. I love games getting their second chance to shine. I really hope more and more like companies really do go that route, and you know, bringing back their old franchises or continuing franchises that need that continuation, because it's just a good feeling, you know. It's just a really good feeling to really feel, you know, play those franchises that we grew up with and see it in a newer light. It's just something nostalgic about it. All in all, I really want to see more revivals, man. More revivals. Give me Mother 4. Just give me Mother 4. Just, I won't ask. I won't ask for much. Please.
Do you know about Oddity?
I know about Oddity. I haven't seen much. I haven't seen much. I haven't seen much about it. I gotta look more into it. Oddity is the spiritual successor to Mother, but it's an indie game. And wow, lately indie games have been crushing it. I don't know what it is, but lately I've just been enjoying them. I've never had this conversation with too many people, but I want to know with the panel, what are your guys' thoughts when it comes to indie games?
I think indie games, like, to me, when it first came out, I didn't really like indie games because like I was just more so just like focused on first party garbage, and I'm just like some schmuck in the basement made a crappy video game. I could do that, but realistically, I tried that and it didn't really work out so well. So I had a more of appreciation for indie games. I think it started with Shovel Knight. That was my first actual indie game that I went ahead and bought and played and loved, and it was just like, wow, oh my god, this is everything that I ever wanted. So it has boss fights, it has really good levels. It had like this kind of a Mega Man kind of a feel to it. You know, the soundtrack was amazing. The story was cutesy. I loved everything about Shovel Knight, and I kept up with the series, and it had multiple DLC and stuff like that. And so, like, I was like, wow, some indie developers are pretty good. Like, sometimes, like, you know, I would watch somebody, you know, like, say, for instance, I'm going to compare these two games real quick. Talk about Yandere Simulator, okay? I know that Yandere Simulator has gotten a lot of hate, especially recently and last year in 2019. But when it first came out, way back, I was intrigued. The demo. Eat it. Okay. So when the demo came out, I was very intrigued because I was watching the development of the entire game. You know what I mean? Come to fruition. I'm watching this game come to life. You know what I mean? He's opening a Patreon, he's opening donations and stuff like that. He's working on the game, and I was like, okay, cool. That's pretty cool. And then you see Five Nights at Freddy's. I hate bringing this up. I never played Five Nights at Freddy's in my life. Ever. I never played a Five Nights at Freddy's game. But this game franchise appeared out of nowhere as a horror simulator, and people ate that shit up. And it was completed, and they were both Yandere Simulator and Five Nights at Freddy's were developed around the same time. Five Nights at Freddy's finished its first game way back in 2012, I can't remember. But
probably longer than that.
I think it came out a little bit earlier.
I think so too.
It feels like the game has existed for like eons at this point.
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't, but like watching those two develop side by side, I actually gained an appreciation for um, the people that created the Five Nights at Freddy's series. Josh Markiplier, during the time when he was on his rock, he was let's playing that video game because I
I
was too
remember.
chicken to play it. And then you got Undertale, another game franchise that appeared out of nowhere that has similar playstyle to Earthbound mechanic or whatever. And I was just like, you know what? I think this might be a game I'll actually like. Even though the fandom was crazy and all that BS like that during that time period, still a good game. Undertale was still a fantastic game. And so my stance on the developers is more so the fact that you get to see the creation and the imagination of other inspirations that's in multimedia gaming come to life and fruition, like Pizza Tower, right? When's the last time we've seen a Wario Land game?
Mm-hmm.
It's been years. It's been the last time we saw a Wario Land series was on the Wii in 2008 or 2007. It was Wario Land Shake It. That's the last Wario Land game we actually got, and that dates me. But I love the Wario Land series. But Pizza Tower comes out, and Pizza Tower has this kind of gameplay that's combined together with the Hedgehog, Metroid with the super jump. You got Wario Land 4 physics and stuff like that.
Battletoads.
Yes, sir.
And Battletoads.
Yeah.
The big teeth.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I've been watching Pizza. I only watched Pizza Tower 3 times when it first came out, and then Sage, and then now, and like it's came a long way. So my experience with indie developers is very positive, and depending on who you're watching or what game you're paying attention to, you can definitely support indie developers because like I said before, the guys in the basement somewhere making a video game and they're busting their tail, and they really don't have any other source of income if they're going to be trying to make a game from scratch. So they definitely, need the love and support. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they abuse it, like Yandere Simulator, while others use it to their advantage and try to make a new game out of it altogether, like Toby Fox.
And I definitely have something to add to that because he's definitely right. But to add to the indie discussion, please support fan games because you might think that fan games aren't really anything special, but sometimes the people who make your fan games go out to make something big. Like Dr. M64, who took 10 years to develop AM2R.
Oh, I remember.
Metroid 2 remake.
Yes.
Yeah. Went on to make the level design for Ori and the Blind Forest, or not the Blind Forest 2, but Ori 2, whatever the full title.
Will of the Wisps. Will of the Wisps.
Yeah, Will o' the Wisp. And, fantastic game. At least from what I've heard, I haven't played either of them, but, it looks like a great game.
It does.
So I think one of the best things that you could do if you really like a series, like a lot, is support the fan games for that and support the developers because those people, half the reason that they make fan games is because they're using it sort of as a basis for something that they could do as like a bigger project, Like they come together, they make something, they release it for free, and then you never know, that person might come up with their own idea later on, and then suddenly they're making their own, big indie title. And so definitely support fan games. And I think the reason that I like indie games is because you get a little more out of it. Like this also sort of reels back into our previous discussion, especially when Josh was talking about Paper Mario. But I think that ideas are not specific to any sort of company when it comes to video games. Mm-hmm. So look at Bug Fables. Bug Fables is basically like a continuation of that old Paper Mario formula. It's not Mario, but it's the gameplay that we knew and loved from back in the day, just in a new format with new characters and everything. And then they add more to it, so it's not even the exact same thing. They just build upon what was already there, make a fantastic game. And Pizza Tower is another great example. It's inspired by Wario Land, but you got so many more elements that make it, probably one of the best platforming experiences that I've had so far, like in a while. So indie games are, I think, necessary because you get like a little more creative with them sometimes than AAA titles. And so That's just my take on it.
I agree. It's funny because my thoughts on indie games, and like I really thought about this a bit. It, you know, when a lot of us when we play the games that we play, for a long time growing up, you mostly just play. You're just like, oh, new game, I'm in it. I'm in it. New game, I'm in it. I'm in it. Indie games, while I wasn't always the biggest fan of them at first, they really. I think I played the first one I played was Journey because it was free on PS Plus. It's free on PS Plus. My friend we game shared PS Plus, and I was like, I'm gonna go for it. So I remember downloading it, and I came back home from school, and I said, you know what? Let's boot it up. And I booted it up, and I'm just like, wow, the game. You're just running around, running from one place to the next. Simple, easy. But that game was so beautiful to look at. It was more beautiful than any other game I could play on the PS3. And learning more about different indie games, I began to like really appreciate the process that goes into making these games like games. You know, the process of them, you know, going from concept art to like designing the sets for the game, you know, the different backgrounds and everything. And I think indie games are so good because they really, like you were saying, they bring out that creativity. They make you appreciate it a little bit more. What was it? My sophomore year of high school. Quick story. Not my sophomore year of high school. Sophomore year of college. Or was it freshman? I don't remember. But I was really interested. I wasn't too sure what I wanted to do for college, what major I wanted, and something told me I wanted to do gaming. I wanted to do journalism. I wanted to do gaming journalism. So I switched majors. I started looking for internships. I found an unpaid internship working for a website called Early Access Gaming, which their whole gimmick was indies. Now I only played Journey before, and so I wasn't the best when it came to like indie games. But I remember I had to, before they got me on, they wanted to see how good I can write about a game. Choose any indie game you can think of. I remember going on the Steam store, randomly scrolling through. I'm like, what looked interesting for me to play that I can do it about? Like play it, because you can play a demo of the indie games often. And I came across Crosscode. Now, that game had been in development for eons. It's finally out now, but that was probably the most fun I've had playing an indie game. And through early access gaming, that little bit of time I spent with them, which I didn't end up staying with journalism in the long run, didn't stay with the company, but it really opened my eyes to like there's so many concepts that these indie developers they go for that big franchises aren't going to take that risk. They're not going to take that risk to go for these crazy concepts because they're more afraid of taking a huge loss. But indie developers, they're going into it with the mentality that we're going to lose money. If our game hits, then that's good. But they're putting all their chips on black, and they're literally saying, if we're gonna run with this concept, we're gonna go in full force. And literally, some of the best games have come out that were indie games. I always bring it up because I love Hollow Knight. Hollow Knight was an indie game. It was crowdfunded. Then it turned into one of the best platformers out there. One of the best. Again,
a lot of them aren't doing it for money either. I think that's the most important takeaway is that indie developers are usually coming from a place of straight passion, and that's why those are so creative, and you just feel the love whenever you play some of them sometimes, because some of these games are just like complete love letters to other games. It's like you look at A Hat in Time and you're just like, this is Super Mario Sunshine, but it's the best Super Mario Sunshine I've ever played. It's like stuff like that.
I've never played it.
And it's good. Like I love following indie developers or just people who make fan games in general, because it becomes inspiring. Like one of my favorite things to do when I go on Twitter, like I know Twitter can be just as much of a toxic place, but if you follow some of the right people, like I follow a lot of indie developers and I just see some of the art they post or just some gameplay clips or of stuff that they're developing, and you just can go on there and just you're like, oh man, that's a cool idea, like I wonder how they came up with that. Or you see something they took from somewhere else and they put their own spin on it, and it's like really inspiring a lot of the time.
I
And
agree.
so I love indie games. I think they're almost like necessary at this point, just to like even out the landscape of how games are. Because you said it yourself, it's like AAA titles are they're not going to take as big of a risk with certain things. They might play it a bit safer sometimes. So I think the indie games sort of balance it out.
All in all, indie games, they're great. They're great, and I'm excited because I feel like I saw a couple indie games. Some of them I can't remember from the top of my head, but I saw multiple indie games getting a lot of recognition at the Game Awards, and just a lot of cool concepts. And we're starting to see like now the budgets for these indie games are going up a lot more because games are just getting more expensive to make, and the quality is just going up. So I think this is gonna be. I think this year or going forward, more and more indie franchises are gonna come out, and I'm excited to see a lot of new concepts to take shape over time as we continue the game because there's a lot of potential. There's a lot of potential for indie games in the long run.
I think you should, if you really like indie games or just like indie games or fan games in general, and you want to see up and coming developers or just, see some people shine, definitely support Sage. It's not just Sonic. I think it stands for Sonic Amateur Games Expo,
Mm-hmm.
but it's usually not just Sonic. Like, there's definitely a lot of Sonic, but it's just like people will submit their indie games. And this year was great because I streamed like a lot of the Sage entries, and I found a lot of really, really cool stuff that people are making right now. And, a lot of really good indie games. And definitely check that out. It happens like once every year, I think like every September, or it might change from year to year, but, definitely check that out if you want to see like new projects or just things that are currently in development.
For sure, for sure. You said Sage Sonic Amateur Games Expo. You said.
Yeah.
All right, definitely. You heard it here, folks. You heard it here first. Show them some love. We gotta support the indie developers because they are literally backed by us, and they are literally the future of gaming. So that we need to support as much as we can. Now, I've been thinking a lot. I've been thinking a lot about, you know, I was thinking about how far we come with gaming. Indie games weren't like the biggest thing before when we were younger. They're still kind of a new idea. If you made a game, it was because you were with a big company, and now people are so creative, so talented that they can make games out of nothing. Um, so many different. I remember when I was a young kid, I would only play I would play like Mario. Uh, I mostly played Mario. I played a little bit of Wario Land 4, I think it was.
The best one.
The best one.
The
Yeah,
best one.
I didn't really play too many like obscure games, or I didn't really drift too much from like different genres. But as I grew older, as I grew smarter and more intelligent, I started to like really branch out into these different franchises and stuff like that. Um, Growing up with games has been like a great thing, but it's also, I personally feel like it hasn't always been easy to grow up with gaming. Even though there's so many new games that are coming out, there was like a lot of other things that I kind of dealt with when like growing up. So for the deep dive today, I want to know with you guys, how was your experience growing up with gaming? And it can be, how was your personal experience? How was your experience, going in society and all that other stuff? I want to really dig deep on this one, deep dive on this one.
Deep.
Deep.
How about you go first?
You want me to go first? Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. You know, okay. Let's see. So I started playing games when I was like, I want to say like 3 or 4. My mom and I remember my aunt. It was like my mom and my aunt. We lived like doors down from each other in the same community, and I remember I would go over. She had an S. My aunt had an SNES. Me and my cousins had little Game Boys, and I remember we would just play at night, and it was just so fun. I remember I played a lot more video games than a lot of people around me and stuff like that. We go into I remember my first like school was a public school. It was Joella C. Good. Not a good school at all, but it got me through. And I remember that, going in, I was just like, well, all these people have, their sports that they really like. They have all their little hobbies that they're really good at, but there's not really anybody who like gaming. So growing up, I don't think I had a terrible time growing up when it came to gaming, but like, I definitely always felt weird. Weird is the worst word to say, but it always felt weird, being somebody who loved gaming so much, and like a lot of these different scenarios, these different settings, because I always felt like, I don't want to say I felt like the odd one out, but I felt like nobody could really relate to me. And yeah, there were a lot of people that I met along the way that they definitely made me like reassured that there are other people who like gaming like I did, but feeling like you're the odd one out always sucked. And it always sucked, especially because I'm black. I know it's kind of weird to just throw that out there, but when you're going to like a little like Joella C. Good, it was not the best school. Once again, it's definitely not the best school, not the best environment. When you're comparing yourself to a lot of the other black kids, you're just like, well, I'm not athletic. I'm not into the same music. I'm not into a lot of the same music, and there was a lot of like disconnect. I felt there's a lot of disconnect. And I feel like I didn't really get over that disconnect until I got into late in high school. But even so, I still felt out of it because I'll be myself in high school. I was in it was a more diverse school, but I was much more diverse school than I was before, but it always feel weird because I would only be able to really talk about games when I'm with my like close friends. If I was with like a different group of students that they didn't come from my friend group at all, then I would never want to talk about it, or I'd never want to be my freaking self, because I'm just like, I'm gonna get roasted. I don't feel comfortable doing this. Even to some extent in college, I kind of got like that. Though it was a lot less, because at that point there was a bigger community of people that I could meet up with, and there was I had more of an incentive to be more of myself, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I feel the black thing for sure, because I feel like when you're a kid, it doesn't really matter as much because we don't really know any better.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you're playing video games and you're like, let's say in elementary school, everybody's probably playing video games because that was just you're a kid, everybody wants to have fun, like especially since not everybody could afford video games at that time.
Yeah.
Or their parents didn't buy them stuff, so it was like people would love to play video games back at that age, but it was really like different in middle school and high school, especially when you said like people judged you. The music is the biggest part for me because you tell somebody you don't listen to rap and then they just suddenly they look at you like You're an
They
alien.
look at you. They look at you like you're
Yeah.
a fucking an alien.
Yeah, and then
What?
here's my favorite question, and it happens every single time. What music do you listen to? It's like you're not allowed to listen to any other music. It's got to be rap, or it's got to be R&B, or something along those
Oh
lines.
no! Oh
What music
no!
do you listen to? And I'm just like, I listen to like pretty much it, especially if you like video game music, because that's primarily what I listen to. Like I listen to actual like music a lot of the time, but like I branch out. Like I can jam to Queen, it doesn't matter. Like it can be hardcore rock, it can be like because that's what video game music provides. It can be anything that you want to be. It could be Wolfgang, whoever, like, and I can jam out to it. But I don't need to listen to rap to be a black person. And then you try to show them something, and it's like if it's not Sonic music, then they're not jamming to it.
Exactly. If you have that moment where you wanna get people in, or you wanna have try to make that connection, but if it's not the person, if it's not somebody who's already been to games before, at least back then. Now it's a lot easier. But if it's not somebody who was into games before, then it's literally like talking to a wall. You know how many times, and like, love them, I love them, but you know how many times I like tried to get my cousin in to gaming, and like, it's cool to get him in. It would be cool to get him in, and of course, if he's not interested, he's not interested. But like, I know it always felt weird to be around him and his friends because I'm just like, I mean, y'all want to talk about, y'all want to talk about sports, y'all want to talk about basketball and stuff like that. I'm like, I want to talk about this dub I got on Call of Duty. We made it to round 30 something. I want to talk about that, but like, I don't want to bring it up because I feel out of the loop. And it's just like, I gotta, being black, I gotta give this image that I can't be a nerd, or I can't be a geek. I can't really invest myself in a hobby like this and stuff like that. That's how I felt growing up a lot.
That's honestly how I felt. Let's segue to mine.
Mm-hmm.
So, growing up, I've always been exceedingly large. Not like as in wide and big, but just tall.
Large.
And so, yeah, large. And so, as like Conte said, when you're in elementary, everyone wants to have fun, stuff like that. But like, it's when middle school and high school comes around, where people that are like older than you, or your parents or family members start teaching you these kind of ideals about society they want you to follow, or that they think that's really cool. And so, even though my parents weren't super into sports, I didn't have a father. I didn't have an actual father with me. My grandpa, he was a smart man. All he did was, basically do taxes and a bunch of other shit. He was my grandparent and my grand. So like, all they did was just make me read books and watch educational stuff. The one thing that I had a good escape for was video games. And like, I loved video games. I was passionate about them. I always loved talking about Sonic the Hedgehog or anime and stuff like that. But like what Conte said, and you guys said, like, being black, there's a certain standard that you have to, that they expect from you, especially if you're an athlete physique. So throughout the entirety of middle school, I used to get picked on all the time about like, oh, you're just playing video games. You're big for nothing. You're just big, and you're not using your body for athletics and sports. And I thought that basketball was lame because I got forced to playing basketball when I was a kid, so that's why I hate the sport. But like, there was no football team in middle school, so I didn't really try out for that, and I really didn't care. And so they would always talk to me, telling me that I'm supposed to be a certain type of way. You're too nice. You're too big. You're black. You can't be playing video games. You know what I mean? That's what kids would that's what kids would say to me when I was growing up. So like, I would take it to heart. So I would want to fit in so badly. I would want to fit in so badly in middle school and like halfway through high school. I wanted to fit in so badly, especially in high school, because I had a teacher that told me basically, in high school, everything restarts. No one cares what you did. So I was like, I can't wait for this big restart and actually fit in with the people. So like, I changed the things I did. I changed the way how I dressed. I changed the way how I appeared because I used to wear video game apparel all the time. I used to run like Sonic the Hedgehog when I was in like early middle school. I used to do all the stupid shit. You know what I mean? And like, when high school came around, I tried to fit into this class of people so much. And then the combination of, football and stuff like that too. So like I'm trying to fit in. I got a PS3. I'm playing Call of Duty for the first time. I get very angry. And it's just like, I'm trying to fit in. I'm trying to listen to music and stuff like that. And then I think it was like it's like when I was a junior in high school, the beginning of junior year or the end of senior, I don't remember. But I was talking to somebody about Sonic the Hedgehog because they just brought it up. And this nerd, he was just like, he was just like, how come you know so much about it? Don't look like it? And it's just like, I'm sick of this shit, dude. I don't care whether or not if I know about Sonic the Hedgehog or not. I just like the franchise. And the kid was just like, that's pretty cool, man. You should just try being yourself. You know what I mean? Not really care about what other people say. He was a junior. He was ahead of me, or whatever. He was a class ahead of me. So I was just like, yeah, but I really don't care. And then like I think it was the beginning. No, it was 100% the beginning of my junior year where I started hitting the big growth spurt, and I started to not give a shit anymore. That was the secret. That's when the evil started coming out. I was such a happy, kind, loving person in high school and all the way through the whatchamacallit. But the moment junior year hit, I became evil. I was angry all the time. Every single time, like it was just, you know what? I don't care anymore. I'm gonna do me, and I'm gonna be happy with it. So I'm blasting we had like the old school like boom boxes and stuff like that hooked up to the Bluetooth, and I would just be playing like random Sonic music around the kids and just like, yeah, it's not even real music. I'm like, shut up! What are you gonna do? You're gonna come and tell my music? And like, oh, Kendall, calm down. It's like, no, I'm tired of you. Calm down. And that's when I realized that I could use my stars to intimidate people, and I became evil. Conte has I told Conte and the group so many stories of me basically just becoming a big brute monster and destroying people's lives, especially the rich girl. Remember that story, Quante?
No, don't
say it. That will get me canceled.
Okay, that
will get me canceled.
We're not trying to get canceled.
The moment that I stopped, but like it was so difficult for me growing up as a kid because I wanted to fit into all the stupid shit so badly. But the moment that I stopped caring about it, I stopped giving a shit. I stopped caring about what other people thought about me. I wanted to be me for who I was. And guess what? I became a Division I athlete that loved video games so much that he became a modernized Broly. I'll never forget when I was on the football field and I yelled Kyle Ken times 3 and tackled somebody. And they're like, Kendall, you can't be doing that. And I said, why can't I? I killed him, didn't he? No one could stop me at that point. It was a moment of just stop me from being me. Mm-hmm. So like that's what it became, and then people just accepted that. And like, it's something that a lot of people still struggle, especially in school. But I think it's a lot easier nowadays than it was back then to actually, be yourself and play video games, stuff like that. Because now it's a coin to be like a nerd and stuff like that. It's a coin to like anime and stuff like that. Because back in the day, it used to be odd. Now everyone wants to be a part of the cool shit. And normies want to be a part of like, oh, I want to be the video game master. Because
especially when you grow up. When you grow up, it changes. Because then everybody's just like, oh man, I always liked, let's say, I used to get made fun of for playing Mario. That was how it was. Like, people, you get to like 5th grade and everybody was just like, hey man, you got GTA? And I'm like, nah. They're like, you don't got a PS2? I'm like, nah. Oh, I got a GameCube. And they're just like, they look at you, they scoff at you. You're just like, what's wrong with playing stuff like Mario or like anything on the GameCube? They're just like, oh, that's for babies. Like stuff like
you are preaching. You are preaching. Oh my gosh.
That lasted. I was known as the Nintendo kid for. I'm probably still known as that. But just like throughout my entire existence in like my school life, because I always had the Nintendo systems. Nobody ever had the Nintendo systems at my school, especially like middle school, high school. Everybody had like 360, and they always they played live, and that's all they did, like Call of Duty and stuff. So I was always the odd one out, even then, with people who did play games, because I didn't have the games that they had. So it's like I couldn't join in on their conversations. I can't tell you how boring lunch was every single day, hearing these dudes talking about Call of Duty or just anything. I'm just like, did you get Galaxy 2? Nobody knows what that is.
Oh no!
Oh my gosh.
That's just like, and that's like one of the multiple things too, because like my high school was fortunate enough to have like a bunch of other kids that like that play video games, but like those kids are like the weird kids, you know what I mean? The weird cool kids and the weird kids combined together in my high school. And that's why, like, after like I became a junior and a senior, I started defending these kids because they're just trying to be, you know what I mean? There's this kid, he was in my class, his name was Matt Izagiri, he used to bully everybody. He came and was just like, oh, so you guys are nerds, huh? You guys like playing that video games. I slammed my fists on the table so hard, his lunch got popped up, and I said, what are you doing here? This is my land. Because it's like we all understand, we've all been there, we've all been asked that question, hey, what do you do for fun? Oh, I like playing video games. Oh, me too, I want to play Call of Duty. Bro, I got into Call of Duty because I was on the football team. I explicitly do not play Call of Duty comp at all, because it's the first game that made me almost destroy my system and made me put a hole in the wall, and grandma was not happy. So we're not. So that was just like my also confirmation of I'm gonna do what I want. You know what I mean? Like if you're struggling with fitting in, who cares? No one cares. What do you want? Too short for that. Eat spaghetti.
Yes, spaghetti is what we. Spaghetti is exactly what we'll eat. The spaghetti is exactly what we'll eat. All in all, like it was definitely like. I remember that moment where I kind of just stopped caring, or I kind of felt comfortable to just being me, being like myself when it comes to games, and being like open about it. It was, what is it? I took a speech class in junior year. That was the first time I was really like doing speech stuff. Yeah, speech class, of course. I'm gonna do speech stuff. But I was just building my skills as a public speaker because I still have a bad stutter even to this day that I'm trying to like work on, which I'm more confident in it now, but back then I was super unconfident. So took the speech class and I got better and better. I think that speech class was the most important class for me because that was the first time I felt like I had a voice. People wanted to listen to what I had to say, even if I'm not necessarily I'm not necessarily like the most popular dude. I felt like I had a voice there. And I remember we got into senior year. Time goes by. I wasn't moving around different groups and just trying to meet different people. And I remember this one dude. His name is Christian. I had classes with him from like middle school. We were like acquaintances that we knew each other for a long time, but we weren't like close friends or anything. I remember we were having a conversation. He was like, we were talking about like rap or something because I started getting into it, and we just started talking. And I remember him telling me something that I've never forgotten. It's something so small, but it's like it makes me really think about it. It's just like, oh, I should be myself. He looked me in the eye. He's like, you know, Anthony. It's no, they call me Riley because that's my last name. They call me Riley. I'm just like, okay. Riley, it's really funny because you're like this really huge nerd. You're an insane nerd, but you're not. But you're also cool to talk to. I can have a conversation with you about something that isn't necessarily about like video games or anything, and have fun. Or I can chime in on the conversation with video games with you and just have fun. And like that was like the first time I felt like, wow, even if it's something so small, it definitely made me feel like, oh, someone wanted to listen to what I had to say. I'm not just the weird game kid who plays a lot of games there. I'm a dude who has some kind of voice or anything. And like I'm glad times have changed a lot. Because now people are super open. People are super open about it. I remember growing up as well. I felt weird. I guess kind of weird being too much of a gamer in front of the family.
That's worse than school.
Oh, that's definitely
at least for me. That's way worse than school.
Oh yeah,
because it's like trying to explain to your family members why you do certain things the way you do. Especially when I talked about the music thing, that's all my family. So I'm like nothing like the rest of my family. I have a brother and a sister, and then there's my mom, which she's a single parent, and they're all just alike, and I'm like the outlier, and I'm the oldest too. So it's like none of them ended up like me. I didn't influence them whatsoever. They act like my mom. They act like typical, black people. They listen to rap. They do all that stuff, and I don't do that. You see all this stuff everywhere in
Yeah.
type of music that I listen to. It's like my mom came in my room because she's just like, "Oh man, you got your own place now. I'm proud of you." And she's just like, "But you're just a big kid." And I'm like, "Wow, thanks, mom."
Love you too. Love you too, Mama Dukes. Nah, that's literally that's a feel. I think what was it? They always knew I liked video games, but like I never really talked about it with people, with like the family and stuff like that. It wasn't until I started competing. Or not even when I started competing in Smash. When I think I was competing for like about 2 years. 2 years, and I think you know what? No, it was like 2019, because that was the first year I started. That was when if you remember from like 2 episodes ago, I said that that was the time when I started to like really get invested into it, and I really thought about maybe going further with competing, going further, trying to go like out there. So I was actually traveling, and I was actually winning tournaments in here, and I think that was the first time, and I thought that was the first time that like somebody in my family that wasn't like my mom, because she'd be like, "Oh, how'd you do at the tournament?" Be like, "I did all right." And she's like, "Cool." But that was the first. but it's the first time that like my uncle he like pulled me aside. He's like, "Yo, this is pretty fucking dope. It's pretty dope. It's pretty cool that you're doing this." And he was like he was all for me like going the extra mile and wanting to like compete or just wanting to pursue something with gaming, because I've always wanted to do something like I've always wanted to like whatever the career is, no matter what it would be. I've always wanted to be. I wanted gaming to be the thing I do because I love it so much, and he's always been the main person who's pushed me a lot. So it's definitely been a huge shift in a lot since from when I was a kid. I'm glad that people don't really have to go through that same kind of societal pressure, because like it sucked. It sucked, bro. I wouldn't say that I was bullied, but I wasn't having a fun time. I wasn't having fun. It sucked. It's like, come on, man. I'm just trying to vibe. I'm just trying to
be, yeah.
I'm just literally trying to exist, breathing with the least amount of effort.
You can't.
You can't.
You can't. You can't. I can't tell you how many times, especially since I remember, well, this is just recent because I didn't get a car for a while. I only just got a car last year. Do you want to know how happy I was? Not only just because of the freedom, but nobody no longer had to pass me the aux cord anymore. I was free. That music was mine, baby.
Yes, sir.
I wanted. And then I'll come to my grandma's house, blast it like just like any other black person, because you get in the car with the black person, and that music's on max. It's you just going down the road, and it's like an earthquake is coming down. But I'll do that with game music, and I'll ride up to my grandma's house, and she's like, "Boy, what are you listening to?" Stuff like that. And I'm just like, I'm listening to music, and then she's just like, "That ain't no music," and that I hate it so much. It's like when it's family, it almost feels 10 times worse than it's just when somebody random, like
Facts.
anybody can make fun of me, and it's just like, okay, it's whatever. But if it's like your family, you're just like, why are you being this way? It's like, why can't I just be like exist, like you just said, and be myself?
Yeah.
Don't you love me?
Because one of my favorite things people will say is, "Why are you acting white?"
Oh,
It's not like us being
God.
ourselves. It's not like we can like games and exist and be in peace. It's why are you acting white? Especially with me, because I can't tell you how many times people have told me that they thought that like since they couldn't see my face. I mean, I know we're on the podcast now and people can see me, but they're like, "You sound white." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And they're like, "You sound white." It's like, what does that mean? Like, I want you to explain to me what that means. What is sounding white? And there's no way that people can really explain how you sound white. That's just what they say. They say you sound too smart. And I'm like,
you
well,
sound too smart.
yeah, and I'm just like,
you
so,
sound like
so
it's just
since I'm black, I can't be like I can't be smart. I can't, you know, form words properly. I have to say like some Ebonics, basically, like speak that way.
yeah.
Like, I've never spoken that way. I've never like had to dive that deep into like a social norm to where I had to speak a certain way. But
I had
that's
to.
always the worst of it.
Yeah,
That's the worst of it.
I was
It's
always
I
like,
had to.
I was always called an Oreo, and I hated it, bro. I was
yes,
called an
that
Oreo in high school, and I
You're
hated it. Dude, there was this one friend, you know, he was a friend, and I didn't really take offense to it, because, you know, I knew it would come from a place of hate, but he would say, bro, you're the whitest black person I know, and I hated it. I'm like, bro,
every single time.
like, that would be the one thing, like, if somebody said that to me the wrong way, that would be the one time I'll be like, okay, I'm fighting you. I'm fighting you. I
think it's time
hate
to
it.
die.
Yes,
today
yes.
Today is your last day on the planet.
It's ooh. all in all, I'm glad things have changed, and you know, I really do hope that at least now more and more people are comfortable with, you know, just if they love gaming or if they love gaming, they love anime, they love art, whatever they love, they're just more more open about it because
They're just passionate about it.
yeah, just be open.
It's something that they like. It's like what AVGN said about sports. You know what I mean? Like no one really looks at like the people that celebrate athletes and they know their name, the coaches, the plays that they run. They don't call them nerds. They just call them fans.
Mm-hmm.
They're still nerds. There's football nerds. They're football geeks. They're cheeseheads. You know what I mean? It's like that's the one thing. That's the one thing I love talking about to athletes to this day. Whenever they're just like, oh, video games is just that's just the nerd shit. I was like, oh, but you know all the players, you know you know all the albums that Chief Keef came out with, right? You know all the music that all the music, the bullshit, the characters that came out, all the that the little stuff, the little multimedia stuff. You know it off the top of your head. What does that make you? They're just like a fan. I'm like, yeah, but a fan is a nerd. Still, it's like people still sound stupid, and that's why I love being an athlete and a nerd at the same time. Because like, and there were some people like that too. And they're most likely the linemen. But like the one thing that I loved about playing like ball in general and being a nerd is I got a whole different world of perspective of two different sides of the same coin. Where one socially was acceptable high up in the air, and one is considered as just a plain old like lesser than hobby that nobody really wants to talk about because it's it's just the stereotypical basement dwellers and people that live with their moms and everybody they don't have sex in 8 million years and all this other bullshit. Like it bothers me that there was such a big stigma behind gamers for such a long period of time. But now we got people talking about like, oh yeah, I used to love this video game, or I used to love Dragon Ball Z. Man, I remember when Gohan, man, and I swear, if I hear another one of my teammates or someone from high school talk about Dragon Ball again on Facebook, I'm going to vaporize them all.
That's how I feel, because they think they know all about it too. Like, they'll try to tell you that you're wrong, and it's just like, I've been watching this
I love that.
religiously.
I love that.
You are
You know how long I've been watching Naruto?
you are but a Padawan.
I love that.
You are but a young Padawan.
Boy, what you know about that boy? I was born in there. You took a glance. You looked at it for 2 seconds and thought you saw the whole world. You left the house and you thought you saw the whole world. You never left your hometown. I've seen the planet. I've seen what I'm idiot.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I love it. All in all, that was a good topic. I love those little discussions like that. I like knowing what goes on in people's minds and stuff like that, because for a lot of people who play games, a lot of people share similar experiences, and maybe some people to a much less degree, some people to a much worse degree. I know people who've had it bad growing up with video games, but all in all, I love that we can now have this conversation. It's not weird to have this conversation anymore. It's normal for us to have this conversation, and the gaming community and other communities alike are much more accepting of all these different people. So I'm very I'm very happy about that. But I think I'm gonna wrap it up there. Thank you guys again for tuning in. I really appreciate y'all. Please, Black Guy Gamer, tell them where the people can find you.
You can find me on Twitter at Dr. Black Guy Gamer. It's Dr. Black Guy Gamer, not the doctor you spelled DR. And you can check out my YouTube channel at Dr. Black Guy Gamer. I'm uploading stupid shit.
I can't stand him. I can't stand him. What about you? What about you, Lore Master? Where can they find you?
On Twitter at Loremaster, and on Twitch at Loremaster, or Loremaster95. I don't know why I forget that. You can have numbers in your name, cause you gotta. So you can find me there. I stream every week. Please check it out.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And you guys can always find me at on twitch.tv/ChocoTacoFGC. You can also find me on my Twitter page, twitter.com/ChocoTacoFGC. Well, we do upload the Gamers Grind podcast on YouTube. Episode 1 is available there. Episode 2, I've had some difficulties trying to get it uploaded, but it will be uploaded this weekend with episode 3. You can find that on the Gamers Grind on YouTube. And all in all, thanks again for coming, guys. I really appreciate it. Next week, we will be back again, 9 p.m. EST. The grind will continue. Have a good night. See you next time. Peace out.